The U.S. prints trillions of dollars out of thin air. But somehow, prices rise in Argentina, factories shut down in Bangladesh, and your morning coffee in Paris gets more expensive. Why does one country's decision ripple across the globe? If that made you pause, hit like and subscribe, because this is the economic paradox no one explains clearly. Let's break it down. This is about one thing: the U.S. dollar's global dominance. The dollar isn't just America's currency, it's the world's reserve currency. That means global trade, oil contracts, and foreign debts, all largely settled in dollars. So when the U.S. prints money, whether it's stimulus during a recession or quantitative easing by the Fed, it doesn't just impact the U.S. economy. It shifts the entire global financial system. Picture this. You're in Brazil, importing wheat from Canada. You're not paying in reals. You're paying in dollars. And if the dollar strengthens or floods the system, your costs shift, even if your economy did nothing wrong. Here's the kicker. When the U.S. prints money, it can weaken the dollar domestically, which makes American goods cheaper and more competitive. But globally, it causes a chain reaction. First, let's talk inflation. More dollars in the system equals more global demand for goods. More demand equals higher prices for everyone. Second, let's talk capital flows. When the Fed lowers interest rates and prints money, investors flee risky emerging markets and pour into U.S. assets, looking for stability. That drains capital from developing nations. Their currencies weaken, their imports become more expensive, and inflation skyrockets, even if they never printed a single peso or rupee. In 2022, Sri Lanka experienced a massive crisis. Part of the reason? Global food and fuel prices spiked, partly driven by dollar dynamics beyond their control. And here's another twist. Countries that borrowed in dollars, now they're repaying more in local currency terms, because the dollar got stronger. It's like your mortgage doubling overnight just because someone in Washington hit print. And don't forget the psychological layer. When people expect the dollar to be inflated, they shift their behavior. Investors panic. Currencies fluctuate. Even central banks react preemptively, often making things worse. So the paradox is this. The U.S. prints money to fix its economy, but the rest of the world picks up the tab. So what does this mean for us? It means global finance isn't fair. It's asymmetric. The U.S. has what economists call exorbitant privilege. Because the dollar is the global default, America can run massive deficits, print aggressively, and still have the world trust its money. No other country has that luxury. If Argentina printed like the U.S., their economy would collapse in days. But when the U.S. does it, markets shrug. At first. Here's the risk. The world is starting to notice. Countries like China, Russia, and even Brazil are pushing to de-dollarize trade. They're exploring using local currencies, gold, or even crypto to break free. But for now, the dollar still reigns. And every time the Fed moves, the world holds its breath. So the next time someone says, "Why should I care what the Federal Reserve does?" just remind them. When America prints, the world pays. So, here's the big question. Should one country really hold this much power over the global economy? Have you or your country felt the ripple effects of U.S. monetary policy? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what it's like from where you live. And if this helped you understand inflation beyond your grocery bill, share it with a friend who still thinks money printing is just numbers on a screen. Because in this system, every decision has consequences far beyond its borders. And always remember, wisdom doesn't come from degrees. It comes from small, daily decisions.